Yep, and welcome back to Talking Huskies. It is March. The madness has begun. The madness has ended for one of our teams. The Yukon men's season is over. We're going to recap their final couple games a little bit, maybe a couple one-liners about the season as a whole. And for the other Yukon team, their season really starts. This is what they do for coming up on 3 decades now. They've been one of the most dominant teams in sports, but they land on the twos line. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Talk about Katie Lou Samuelson's health. We'll talk about the bracket. We're going to talk about all of it, everything March. As always, I'm joined by KT Sharp, and let's talk Huskies. All right, welcome back to Talking Huskies. I'm Jake Storielli at Talking Jake on the Twitter sphere. I am joined by the Mad Hatter, the March Madness queen, the queen of stats, Katie Sharp. Katie, how are you doing?
Is that just a loaded question? Come on. This is March. Come on.
March.
We are right in the middle of March Madness. Probably the 2 best days of the sporting calendar right now, if you're a college basketball fan or if you just like really fun sporting events. So yeah, I'm great. I'm really great.
That is good to hear. That was a silly question. If you're doing a college basketball podcast and you're not doing well right now, well, either your team just got bounced, which we should say we're recording midday Thursday, and we got a couple. Someone's coming for Michigan State's throat right now. We'll see if they get bounced. I think Maryland's in a tight one with Belmont. So I don't know if you hear any screams from either of our ends, we might have gotten an update on that. Other than that, the tourney's getting kicked off. And Katie, I started talking to you about this before the show, but I think the people would like to hear it. And then I kind of cut you off. But I think one thing that you and I both stand on is we're one bracket girls.
Absolutely. Loyalty.
You get one.
You get one. Filling out multiple brackets is kind of like cheating on your wife or your girlfriend or your husband or whatever. You know what I mean? Just come on, just bite the bullet and do it.
Just go for it. Take a chance. Katie coming at people's throats on the multiple brackets. I'll say this: the closest I'll get to that is if I'm involved in other pools, I'll flip a couple of the coin flips just to do it. I'll flip an Oklahoma Ole Miss or something like that. Just that's almost to spark myself. But I do agree with you because I'm a big storylines guy when I fill out brackets. Like I love in the men's bracket this year, Duke can play UCF as we know from the AAC in the round 2, and I love Coach Dawkins and Coach K, Taco Fall with Zion in the middle. So thinking like that a little bit, if I start going in big variances, the whole bracket's gone. So I agree with you. I'm sorry I even admitted to some of my first round flip flops in different pools. I'll chalk it up to an accident. Any before we get into the Yukon stuff, any teams you're looking out for this March? Any sleepers or who you got winning it?
No, I'm not really a big sleeper person. And I try not to pick too many of those trendy upsets in the first round. It can be tempting because, who loves, what do you love more than seeing the Cinderellas and the upsets? But I just know that, there's a wide range of them. And if you pick all of them, you end up picking all upsets in the first round. And then you can make a case for any of these teams to win at this point after what happened last year with, Virginia and, UMBC. There's a lot of parity in college basketball right now. So I guess kind of my sleeper to get to the Final Four maybe is Florida State.
Okay.
If that's a sleeper at all. but yeah, and then my champion, I mean, there's only three words. Duke has Zion, and
Wow.
that's all you
Okay.
need to know.
Okay. Who do you have them playing, perchance?
I believe was it Kentucky?
Okay,
Is
Kentucky.
that
Yeah,
Matt? Yeah,
Kentucky's the two from over there.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I like that. The Blue Bloods.
And and basically, I mean, Kentucky has Cal, so
Yeah, Coach Cal. Our buddy John Boy, where he's living nowadays. Cal has a beach house in the town, so he's bumped
oh
into a
really?
few times. He gives
Wow.
him the hey coach and keeps it moving, but he says
Yeah,
he's more than
yeah.
friendly. Um, okay, I like that. Pretty similar. I'll give away my finale. I have Duke Carolina going round 4,
Oh,
which
first time ever.
which I know it's not super likely. It's never happened, but if there's a year to do it with Zion and the way North Carolina's been playing has been awesome. The way they get
Yeah.
up and down the court with what's the point guard's name? Kobe White.
Oh, I love the
He
hair.
he
The hair.
loved the
All
hair.
hair.
All hair all day. Yeah, I could go for that. And you're right, Kay. I don't know if this is a maturing thing, but I used to get excited for finding the upset. Now I kind of live in fear of it. Because if you try too much, you're putting yourself in a bad spot. And if you just go for one, I mean the odds are kind of against you a little bit. I don't know. The only team that I mean Wofford got the 7 seed. I loved watching them play. They have that one
Yeah.
kid that just has JJ Redick rules. He gets to shoot
Fletcher
wherever he
McGee.
wants.
Yeah,
Yes.
Fletcher
Yeah.
McGee basically shoots from, every angle that you could possibly shoot from. I mean, he's never in a good position to shoot. That's
No.
the thing. And he
It,
still makes like 45% of his threes or something.
Yeah, he's gonna break the 3-point record. I
Yeah.
think in his next game, which is pretty cool. And I don't know, everyone snags a 12. I think I liked your Ducks to sneak into the Sweet 16 because I think they're playing decent ball at the right time, and I think the bracket over there falls decently for them. But I don't know. I guess that's a little too much March Madness for what's supposed to be a Huskies podcast, and I guess we're talking about that because that's where we wish our Huskies were, or heck, we even wish they were at the NIT, to be honest. Katie, the season comes to a wrap. We land at 16 and 17 on the year. A lot of different emotions. There's definitely some good takeaways. There's some that, will leave you scratching your head for years if you want to a little bit. There's some that, this year had to happen. This year was almost a necessity, especially when you look around. And I mean, you see a team like Belmont, Belmont. A lot of people couldn't point that out on a map. It's in Nashville, Nash Vegas, good music school if you're into that. But a team like Belmont would do what Houston did to us. I truly believe that. They're such a better team than us right now. 11 seed Belmont where are they out of? The Sun Belt? I'm not even sure. So I guess there's some of my emotions coming out, Katie. But we go into the AAC tournament. Jalen Adams is back. We're getting excited. We beat USF again, which was nice. We get to 500. Vital and Jalen both have really nice games. And I mean, Jalen Adams was playing free and loose like he had nothing to lose because he essentially didn't. Katie, tell me about this USF game.
I really like this game because it kind of showed the ability of our guards to dominate the games again. I mean, it was very encouraging when Carlton was playing well and we were getting some of that balanced interior scoring. But to see sort of the three guards, Vital, Adams, and Smith, really shine in the backcourt and take over this game, that was good to see. I hadn't seen that in a while, especially with the injury to Jalen Adams. But it was kind of one of those. It was a really inspired effort. it's been a while. It's been almost 2 weeks since the game. But if you remember, I mean, they just came out with a confidence and a looseness when they were playing, and they just looked like they were having fun again, which was good to see. I think that was really good to see at the end of the season. Pretty encouraging. And then you had that ugly, ugly finish when they just could not put them away, and then our favorite stat, the missed free throws, kind of almost burned them in this game. But I mean, it was basically just, it was kind of funny because it was just like bombs away. I mean, they hit 13 threes, which I believe is the most that they've ever had in a postseason tournament game. So a conference tournament or an NCAA tournament or an NIT game. And ironically, if you remember, this is the same USF team that they went 0 for 15 from 3 against.
Right.
2 weeks prior to that. So I mean that's basketball, and you live by the 3, you die by the 3. 3-pointers are so unpredictable. But yeah, I mean, it was good to see Jalen finally playing free and confident and just looking like he was having fun out there, as he kind of probably realized that his career was coming to a close.
And Katie, the one stat that initially jumped off this page for me, and it was something I heard today, because I never looked at a box score and said, yes, that's I love that. And it's the 16 assists in this game.
Yeah.
We had Jalen with 5, Terrence Smith with 4. Terrence Smith had a really good game, 14 and 4. That's kind of this 3-headed guard monster we've hoped for all year. And it shows up in this game. But yeah, I mean, I think before we jumped on here, I heard something, and I'm going back to my new favorite team, Belmont, apparently. But I think they had like 8 assists and with time left to play in the first half. And I just feel like there was too many games this year. We ended up with not even in double digits assists, more turnovers than assists. I mean, that'll definitely be on my, what to watch for 1920. But in this game, and it's I laugh, Katie, because it's something I almost, coming into the season, I didn't want to see, especially with the hot start Al-Tariq had, was on the ball point guard Jalen Adams was running this team pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually, the assist thing was what I was going to actually mention next with you. But yeah, I mean, it's tremendous. I mean, 16 assists on 25 field goals. So that's a 64% assist rate, which is I believe it was one of their best of the season. And this is a team this UConn team in conference play, they ranked last in the conference in assist rate. So for them to have this breakout game was pretty cool, I thought. They had for the conference play, they had a 48% assist rate. So it's assists to made field goals. So it was encouraging. And if you remember the game before that, they had 20 assists in that game. So that's 36 in a 2-game span for UConn. Those last 3, and then the game before, and then they actually did pretty well against we'll talk about the Houston game next game, but those last 3 games of the season, Houston, South Florida, and East Carolina, all with a 50% assist rate or better. So maybe something finally clicked, but the ball movement did very much look really good in that. They were pushing the pace and finding the open man. And I think that was sort of born out of the confidence and the swagger that they were playing with as well.
Yeah, and so the second thing that's kind of jumping off the page to me, and you may even know where I'm going with this, but finishing up on assists, I think we had 7 players with assists, which might have to check after this, but I'd put $20 down right now that's the most players having an assist in a game for UConn this season. And then when I saw that, Katie, my eyes jumped to the rebound. Everyone was working in this game. I mean, we have 6 from Carlton, 3 from Poly, 6 from Adams, 2 from Smith, 5 from Vitale, 4 from Whaley, which I mean, I don't know if we want to do this right now, but I've been a guy who's been frustrated sitting on the bench before. Isaiah Whaley has his best game of the season, 3 for 3 shooting. He goes to the line four times, excuse me, 8 points, 4 rebounds. I think easily his best game of the year. And he's got to be sitting there saying, why now? Why now? But stepping back away from that, I mean, besides Carlton doesn't have any points, which we could talk about a little bit, but he does have 4 blocks, 6 rebounds, and hey, that 1 assist I mentioned. But this really was like good team basketball.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And you saw it too if you were watching the game, you saw the ball movement. You saw them sort of, reverse the ball, just draw the defense, and then find the open shooter. It was pretty simple. I mean, we haven't seen the half court offense execute like that in very few games this season. They had relied on their transition offense a lot, probably too much. And we saw a lot of the stagnant half-court offenses for most of the games. But yeah, that was a really sort of a real nice breakout game for them in terms of getting everyone involved and moving the ball, and as we mentioned, the assists.
Yeah, and UConn lands with 80 points, and as I mentioned with that North Carolina team I've been gushing about before, I mean, you got to get buckets in today's NCAA basketball, and I think you land at 80 points. We go to the free throw line a lot. We only shoot 61%. Luckily, South Florida only shot 67% on 1 less free throw attempted. It was kind of, I don't want to say what you expect from South Florida, but it was, Rideau is going to be in your face all game. Collins, UConn gets a nice little win. And let's be honest, Katie, UConn wins. They win a couple games back to back. Jalen Adams is back and playing better basketball than he has been. We go into the Houston game, and I think what my words were on the last episode was, give us a good half. Give Houston a scare. Make Houston nervous for a little bit. And unless there's something I've skipped past from the USF game, Katie, that you want to circle back on, I think I want to jump to Houston. And maybe if you want to talk about, I don't know if you got that mid-game excitement, but before tip-off, I'm saying, hey, it's March. This is March, right? And it turned out to not so much be March for UConn.
Yeah, this was pretty much a disappointment from the start. Completely, absolutely dominated by Houston from the tip. I mean, they started out on an 11-0 run. They had 3 different 11-0 runs during the game. And that's just, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to win a game when you're getting blitzed, completely blitzed like that. When you're giving up just scoring runs like that, and you're having scoring droughts of your own for extended, 4 or 5 minutes at a time. I mean, it was just Houston. They have better players, superior talent, superior size, superior depth, and experience. And they showed it. I mean, they held nothing back. And as I think as Hurley mentioned a lot in the post game, Houston is the team that UConn kind of wants to be. That's how they envision themselves. A tough-minded defensive team that can still have an efficient offense, building off of their defense. So, it was obviously a horrible loss to end the season in terms of the numbers and everything. But the better team won, and sometimes March is not so magical.
Yeah, and hey, Houston's a 3 seed. I think they're a really good team. I think they're one of 2 teams in the tournament with 30 wins, or there's some stat like that. And Katie, you mentioned Houston's got better players. Houston's got better this, that, and the other. I don't want this to be people think this is a shot at Hurley. I mean, right now they have the better coach. I mean, Kelvin Sampson's a guy who's going to get Coach of the Year votes. So, again, not a shot at Hurley, but, I mean, right now they're clicking on all cylinders. they own the conference this year. It's tough to go out like this. You know, Jalen gets a double. He gets 15 and 10 rebounds in his last game. So does Josh Carlton, two guys with double doubles. Houston had three guys outscore us. If you have Davis, Robinson Jr., and Hinton, they outscored the UConn basketball team. I mean, two teams just on different playing fields right now. And I mean, it's tough to say what you even take away from a game like this. UConn shoots 26% from the field, 11.5% from three, which, I mean, you're playing a little huck and chuck to try to get back into a game at a certain point. But, I mean, what are there takeaways?
I mean, for me, not much from UConn, but Houston, I mean, they showed why they are a top 10 defensive team. And that was kind of the story of the game, I think. That 25.9% on field goal percentage is UConn's second lowest in any game since 1980, which is when they sort of had those official stats going back. So this was a historically bad shooting performance by a UConn team, but I think you give all the credit to Houston at this point because they are truly one of the most elite defensive teams in the country. And it was the second the 45 points is the second fewest points that they have ever scored in a postseason game for UConn. So, you know, they ran into a juggernaut, and unfortunately, you know, that's the way that their season ended. But you know, I can't really take much away from UConn for this one, besides the fact that they just got dominated by a better team.
Yeah, I think that that is honestly the best way to say it, and it's not fun to say. And yeah, I mean, we're not going to do a whole spiel. That Katie and I will do a year-end kind of wrap-up episode, maybe on the men's team as a whole. Individually, I think what's tough for me is you start going back through the schedule and you say, you know what, we had a chance against Arizona. We half had a chance against Florida State. That first USF game, the Cincinnati overtime game, the Wichita buzzer beater. I think when you land at 16 and 17, I think it's really easy to look at a couple of those and just say, you know, one ball bounce this way or one extra hustle play. And I mean, that could be the difference in us talking about the Huskies in the NIT right now, you know? So I know that's not the happiest mindset, especially I'll pass it off to you because I don't want to fully deep dive, but I mean, we missed Jalen Adams and Alterique Gilbert for a chunk of this season. So I don't know, Katie. I give you that, and I don't know if you want to give a comment or a pick me up or put me down or somewhere in the middle. But kind of where you're at, I guess, with the UConn men.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll just kind of build on what you said there about how this was a tough season, in terms of some of those losses, and we've mentioned this stat before, in that they lost 11 of their 17 losses this season were by 8 points or fewer, which is pretty remarkable considering that last year only 5 of their 18 losses were by 8 points or fewer.
Right.
And if we remember, they set a program record with 8 losses by 20 plus points last year, and this year only 2 by 20 plus points.
Yeah.
And you know, we've mentioned that stat of their record in games decided by 8 points or fewer. It ended up being 3 and 10. So 3 and 10 in games decided by 8 points or fewer. We've referenced that luck stat on KenPom.com. They ended up 323rd in the country, out of 351 teams in terms of luck. which is, their expected winning percentage versus their actual winning percentage expected based on their points scored and points allowed, efficiency-wise. So, I mean, the fact of the matter is that, they were 16-17, and their scoring margin on the season was 2.5 points per game. So, I mean, they were a 500 team. And they could have maybe been an above 500 team if they got a few more breaks, as we've mentioned before. But to me, the big takeaway is, even though they had only one fewer loss than last year, this team was remarkably better than last year's team. In so many different ways, and we'll be able to detail all those different ways when we do the wrap-up episode. But to me, that's the biggest difference. That's the big takeaway for me.
Katie, the 8 points or less stat is great, and I think bringing up that games lost by 20 or more points stat, unfortunately, is great, because there were big strides this year. And you know what? I guess I get frustrated because I think those kind of cliches get thrown out anyways. It's the program has changed and the mentality is totally different. And then you see, a couple years down the line that coach is out of town and it didn't work out. Hurley, it's very sincere. It's the most genuine it could be. I mean, you saw it in the growth of a couple of the players. You saw it in the energy. You see it in his energy. So Katie and I will have a bunch of stuff coming up on the men in the future episodes. For now, I think we need to jump to the women, ladies' night, because they deserve it, and they're anchoring this show. I know if you listen regularly, A, we thank you. If you want to leave that 5-star review, I'll never fight you on it. And B, I mean, this team has a chance to win the title. So I love the men, 16-17. It is a rebuild. I understand. The women Huskies are looking to go out and get a title. And Katie, we were kind of slapped in the face with the news that the women Huskies are going to be on the 2 line this year.
Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest takeaway for, I think, most of the women's college basketball world. That's all that everyone was talking about on that Monday night. Well, that and the fact that ESPN revealed the brackets just a little bit early.
Right.
Is a very unfortunate and embarrassing situation for them. Oops is right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this was a big shocker, especially since the committee had done their final pre-tournament bracket reveal, I think a couple weeks prior and at the beginning of March, and they had UConn on the 1 line, and all UConn did was go out and completely dominate the American Athletic Conference tournament and win all their games and finish their conference season undefeated. So, it was definitely a shocker. But I mean, and we can talk about this a little bit more, but in the end, in my opinion, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I'll just, the one stat that I threw out there, which kind of doesn't relate to this, but the fact that, this is remarkable. It's only the 5th time since the, that 1995, the first time that they won a national championship. The 5th time since that season that they are not a number 1 team. I mean, not a number 1 seed, excuse me. And so, the previous 4 times they did win the national championship once. So it's not like they've been in this situation and completely failed every other time. That was, and the other seasons they've lost in the Elite 8 and lost in the Sweet 16 when they were not a number 1 seed. But for other reasons, I think it really doesn't matter. And that's the fact that, they were going to have to win 4 games anyways to get to the Final Four. It doesn't matter, who they have to play. And Louisville was projected to be the number 2 seed in their region as well. So they were going to have to beat Louisville in order to reach the Final Four. And now it's basically just who do you have to beat to get to play Louisville? And
Right.
it's are you playing the 3 seed Maryland or are you playing the 4 seed Oregon State? And there's reasons that it's possible that Maryland is a better matchup for UConn, in terms of their personnel and their style of play and who they beat and everything. But I think this actually was a good thing, because
Nice.
now they have an even bigger chip on their shoulder, and even more motivation. I think they didn't need it. They've kind of played with a chip on their shoulder the entire season, after entering the season with a lot of question marks. But I think they're now just even more determined, kind of to show that, hey, you want to make us a 2 seed because of our conference and because of our strength of schedule. Fine, that's cool. We're just gonna go out and do what we normally do and win 4 games, and we'll see you in where is it? Is the Final Four? I don't even know.
We're going to Tampa this year.
Tampa. That's right. The men are in Minneapolis. They get to freeze, and the women get to lie on the beach in Tampa.
Not bad.
So, I mean, their ultimate goal is the Final Four, and they have basically the same path to the Final Four as they would have if they were a number 1 seed. It's just a matter of what color jersey they're playing in on that final game.
Yeah, I like that. The jersey's the only thing that changed. I could see that being Gino's speech. And I think you're right. If you're not fully tuned into the women's game and you're mystified that UConn's not on the one line, Mississippi State is on there, Notre Dame is on there, and Notre Dame beat Louisville handily in the ACC championship game, which if that was vice versa, I think we would have seen UConn on the one line. But you're right. Like UConn was probably going to be in the same bracket as Louisville. Just depended who was going to be the 1 and who was going to be the 2, which is the difference between playing Robert Morris from my NEC, Northeastern Conference, shout out, or we draw Towson in the first round, which Katie's got some incredible first round stats for us there. But you're right, and it's March, Katie. I mean, you mentioned the Maryland matchup. Maryland could run into a tough game in round 2 with UCLA or Tennessee. And hey, UConn could possibly run into some noise with a proud Rutgers program that's had some success in the past. We've talked about the parity a little bit. I mean, I'm biased with this UConn women's team that I think they're strong, and they probably won't get challenged until the Sweet 16. But yeah, I mean, you almost can't play that game with the brackets because this is March. You're not necessarily sure who you're going to play. I mean, is there a good chance we could be playing Louisville on, I think it's March 31st? I think so. And you're right. The only thing that's truly going to be different would be the jerseys in that game, which, hey, that's I don't know. I went through so many bad jokes in my head, but it only matters the name on the front of the jersey, all of them. It matters who's got the numbers at the end of that game. And Katie, I don't know. I think we should start out with let's do Katie Lou Samuelson quick. Katie Lou Samuelson's been banged up. Oh, we've got some updates on her. She's been practicing. I mean, my kind of stance on it is still kind of the same. Like I just, in this Towson game, I'd love to see her out there, running and gunning and looking comfortable, even if the shots aren't falling, as long as it's, if she's doing everything else, Katie Lou, I'm fine with that. And heck, we could need her in round 2, but there's a good chance we're going to be good in these first 2 rounds anyway. I'm still on let's just see her out there running, getting minutes, being healthy. Katie, I know I was going to pass it to you because I know you were looking at it's Kelly Stacy, right?
Yeah, Kelly Stacy, the beat writer for the Hartford Courant for the women's basketball team. She was at the press conference on Thursday. This is when we're recording this pod, and just kind of threw out some quotes there. Gino and Napheesa Collier and Katie Lou spoke at the press conference, and basically Gino said that it's going to be up to Katie Lou how much she wants to play, when she wants to come out. And Katie Lou says that she's ready and she feels, pretty much 100%. Obviously, I think, obviously she's going to say that.
Right.
Because, she's a competitive person, and, it's, even though it is just Towson and they're probably going to win by, 100. But, she wants to be out there. She hasn't played in more than, was it almost two weeks now, 3 weeks. And so yeah, it looks like kind of it'll kind of be just up to her how much she wants to push it just for these first couple games, and Gino seems pretty comfortable giving her that leeway.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be interesting. I'm expecting to see her pretty healthy. It seems like they played as conservatively as they could with the injury. I'm expecting to see Katie Lou out there for 20, 25, 30 minutes, depending on kind of the flow of this game. I don't picture her being too restricted. I could be wrong. We'll see. And I think that does segue us into this Towson game, Katie, because Towson, they finished third in the CAA, and they went on to win the tourney, beat Delaware, Hofstra, and Drexel to get in. Nice little tournament run by them, 20-12 on the year. Katie, you're the queen of stats. You have some great ones, and it's probably what we should anticipate about what's going to happen in this Towson game.
Yeah, so this is Towson's first NCAA tournament appearance. So congrats to them.
Hey.
And their reward is coming to Hartford to play UConn. So yeah, so I was kind of just curious about, you always know that UConn kind of just cruises through their first round games. But I came across this kind of a remarkable stat, and I hope it's right. I hope I didn't mess it up. But going back to 1995, which is when they won that first national championship game, so 25 years.
Wow.
Only once in those 25 years have they won their first round game by fewer than 30 points. So they've obviously won all of them.
Right.
But only once have they won by fewer than 30 points. So yeah, that's pretty much the epitome of dominance. And they're right now on a 3-season streak of scoring at least 100 points in every game in their first round. Last year, I think they won by 90 points over who was it? Can't remember who it was last year, but yeah. So this, I think, they're just gonna cruise through this first game. It's not really worth talking about Towson very much. It's just unfortunate that for the first, their first tournament appearances, had to draw UConn. So.
Yeah, we mean no offense to our Towson listeners, but at some point you have to be realistic with yourself. And Connecticut, oh my God, Katie. Connecticut played St. Francis of PA last year. I think another NEC shout out. I think they jump between leagues sometimes, but UConn 140, St. Francis 52.
Yeah, that was the game. St. Francis, PA. Yes, that was the 90-point win. I remember that. Yes, that was.
Oh my, 140. That number's insane. That number's insane. So, yeah, I'm not gonna predict 140 again. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna happen, but expect the UConn women to roll in round one. And continuing the path a little bit, Katie, Rutgers Buffalo is the next game. I'm ignoring all the coaches saying one game at a time, but I think we know the result. Rutgers Buffalo, as I mentioned, this Rutgers program has had some success in the past. It's a 7-10 game. I mean, the Rutgers women's team isn't what it used to be. I mean, do we think that they finished 22-9, third in the Big Ten? They lost to some non-impressive schools. I mean, is there I think they're without Vivian Stringer for the rest of the season. I guess in the obnoxious UConn fan way, but yet I'm asking it, so I don't think it's obnoxious. Can UConn get challenged in the second round?
Well, I mean, they do have a win against Maryland, Rutgers. So they did beat Maryland.
At Maryland, too.
That was at Maryland. That was way back in, at the end of December. I mean, they got completely dominated by the other best teams, by Michigan, by Iowa, in the Big Ten. And then Maryland actually they actually played Maryland in I believe they took them to overtime in their other matchup, and lost. But yeah, I mean, you kind of always have to be a little bit wary of a team that has that pedigree of at least one good performance.
Yeah.
But this is not your father's Rutgers teams, or however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And I think being without their signature coach hurts them a little bit. So I think that, and it's been quite a while since UConn has not won multiple games in the NCAA tournament. You have to go back to 1993 to find the time that they did not win at least 2 games in the NCAAs.
Yeah, and I guess I should check myself a little bit, especially when you're saying give them a game. I mean, the Buffalo Bulls, they lost to Stanford 62-55. I mean, they played at Oregon when they were ranked 3rd. They ended up losing by 20, but they put up 82 points. It's not like they weren't playing basketball out there. So I guess I do need to be slightly more respectable of that second round game. I like you said with that last stat, I mean, they should advance, but hey, the talk of the town in women's college basketball this year is the parity, which, Katie, I know, again, if there's someone who'd be the conspiracy theory person on this podcast, it'd be me. I think they a little bit put UConn on that second line just to have a day in the news cycle of gossip about how much parity there is in women's basketball. Is that too far off?
Ooh! You're going there, Jake. Oh,
yeah,
the conspiracy
I'm just saying.
ESPN conspiracy theory, because we know, ESPN, and that's why they leaked it too, just so they could have even more attention to them on that day. But yeah, I mean, this is actually, I mean, UConn is in one of the toughest, among the consensus is the toughest region in the tournament right now. There are 6 teams in the top 20 of the AP poll in the tournament. In UConn's region, the Albany region. UConn, Louisville, Maryland, Oregon State, Gonzaga, and UCLA all rank 20th or better in the AP poll. So this is not going to be an easy path for UConn. But yeah, so I think it'll be interesting. And as we know, as we've talked about on this pod before, there has never really been a season in recent memory with this much parity for the women's basketball game. You probably have to go back to, at least 13, 14 years. I know some of the analysts were referencing 2006 as the last time maybe there was this much parity, which also coincidentally is the last time that UConn was not a number 1 seed.
Nice, Katie.
So yeah, so I think that anything can happen. I think it's going to be exciting, and I think I'm really looking forward to seeing UConn play with a chip on their shoulder. Is what I'm really looking forward to, because I know that Gino he can motivate these girls, and so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to seeing, especially in these first couple games.
Yeah, and Katie, you can tell me if you want to go there or not. I mean, do we want to talk about Louisville a little bit, or I mean, should we save it and not try to jinx ourselves? Because Let's be honest, that's what all of UConn fans are thinking right now about the rematch.
Yeah, obviously it's there looming on the horizon. I mean, I don't think we should really talk about it. I'd rather not talk about it right now. I am sort of a little bit of a superstition person. I kind of tend to wear the same things. So when I watch games, I watch
There
them.
you
I
go.
watch them in between
Okay.
games, and that type of thing. And sitting in certain places, but yeah, I mean, obviously you got to look ahead. But I mean, like I said before, this is the toughest region in the tournament of the four regions. And if UConn is looking ahead, they could be. There's definitely a potential for an upset here.
And hey, Katie, all that parity wouldn't be the worst news in the world to me if a Michigan or Gonzaga or Oregon State knocked off Louisville. I wouldn't even be mad about that.
Hey, there's also an interesting twist. Tennessee is in the Albany region as well. Obviously, Tennessee is way down from historical standards. They were actually a bubble team this year. Is kind of a question of whether they were going to make the tournament.
Right, it almost stopped their streak.
That would have been a historic streak as well. That would have been stopped. So hey, that would be kind of cool if Tennessee was able to pull a couple upsets and see them face UConn. I don't know exactly when it would work out. I mean, I know they're the 11 seed, so I don't know how that would break down. Probably have to be in the Elite Eight or something.
Yeah, I think I think they could meet in the Sweet 16. I mean, they are
16. Yeah,
they are the 11 seed, so they have 6 UCLA and then potentially Maryland. But I mean,
so yeah, that would be kind of cool. But anyways, yeah, I think that UConn cannot, maybe aside from Townsend, really can't look ahead to any games and kind of cost them something.
And it's your Super Bowl effect, Katie. I mean, if Rutgers as a proud women's basketball program playing UConn in the second round would be their Super Bowl this season.
Anything can happen.
If Maryland leaks out into the Sweet 16, they're a really good team, and this would essentially be their Super Bowl. Tennessee, I mean, that's a proud Rocky Top fan base that it can turn March on you real quick. So I don't know. There was a lot of fear factor at the end there. Keep an eye on Katie Lou. Napheesa Collier is just going to do her thing, and I think it's awesome that we can say that. It'll be interesting to see if anyone steps up. I mean, we haven't talked about Kristen Williams. Oh, excuse me. Too much since she had that big Notre Dame game, and I don't know. Like, is she going to have her freshman? I'm stumbling all over myself, Katie. I've been talking too much today. Is she going to have her moment as we saw in the Notre Dame game? She steps up, and she just looks incredible. Like, is this going to be a breakout tournament for? You wonder, is it going to be? Is Katie Lou good? Katie Lou said she's good, so she's going to play. I think that was the quote we got today. Megan Walker, or is it just going to be Lou and Collier? I don't know. I think that's what you and I would lean.
Well, I mean, I think that at this point you can always count on Katie Lou and Napheesa Collier to show up and to kind of dominate the game as well. But the thing with Kristen Williams is, she's kind of been, laying low the past few games, the past few weeks, and she's been improving since she kind of went through a pretty horrible shooting slump that sort of in the middle of the season she hit that freshman wall. But the thing with her is we've seen her step up in the biggest games. So she was actually at her best in the non-conference, which is when UConn played their most difficult opponents. So I absolutely think that she can have a breakout NCAA tournament. She's got that swagger. She knows she knows that she wants to show up when the lights are brightest, and we saw that against Notre Dame, and we saw that against some of the other teams in the non-conference when she kind of went off against DePaul and Purdue and Cal, but yeah, I would definitely not put it past her. If at the end of UConn's run we were talking about Christian Williams as being one of the best players on the team at that point.
Yeah, she has been quietly a little more efficient lately, and she does have, most importantly, the "This is March" swagger. I think there's no denying that. And Katie, something that went through my head a couple times, and I needed to tell you and whoever else is listening. Have you seen the clip of Coach Calipari talking about being in the toughest bracket every year?
No, inform me, please. Inform me.
I might have to track it down, but there's a clip. It's not every year, but there's a clip basically every 3 years of Coach Calipari just talking into an ESPN camera and saying, "I don't know how this happens. We're in the toughest bracket every year. The committee hates us," and it's so Coach Cal, and it's so I could see people hating it, but it's also, you just have to appreciate the entertainment value and what he's trying to do as a coach. It's like, they're disparaging my kids. How can they do this? And it's just like, man, you don't stop, do you, Coach Cal?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty funny because I think Gino had some similar quotes. I'm trying to pull it up right now because if you were, I'm not sure if any people know, but the women's chair of the NCAA tournament committee came out and basically said that UConn did not get a 1 seed because of, and I'm quoting her, "We felt it came down to strength of schedule, strength of conference, as well as how they were playing down the stretch." So basically, kind of poo-pahing UConn for losing, oh my God, 2 games, and for playing in the American Athletic Conference. And this is great. So here it is. So after Auriemma, after Gino had said that part of the decision was based on the strength of schedule, he goes, so not if we had gone undefeated, would it? So if we'd won those 2 games that we lost, we would be a number 1 seed, right? Then our strength of our conference wouldn't mean crap, would it? So we have to go undefeated every year, basically, is what they're saying. End quote.
And only the eloquency, is that a word? And only the eloquency that Gino can deliver a statement like that.
Yes, we love that. So he's fired up. I think the rest of the team is fired up too. And I think it's going to be cool to see a UConn team playing with a chip on their shoulder.
That's great.
Really big chocolate chip.
Yeah,
peanut butter chocolate chip on their shoulder.
Ooh, now that's March. I got to stop saying that phrase before some
John.
Yeah, before
John Rothstein. John Rothstein.
Before
I don't know how many people will get that reference, but yeah.
That's his now. Well, Katie, anything else you need on the women, or anything else on the men, or anything UConn, or anything at all you got?
No, I think we covered a lot here. And I'm pretty excited, obviously, to watch the UConn women these next couple of weeks. So hopefully the next couple of weeks. And I'm still, obviously I'm a huge fan. I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be glued to the tube for the NCAA tournament through the beginning of April. So this is the best time of year, and I can't wait.
Yeah, and that's on a similar note, I'll say just enjoy it. If you enjoyed this, you're gonna enjoy the next couple weeks. And yeah, keep cheer for the women. Hopefully we can start, maybe get a little title march around campus and stores. And hopefully maybe that can spin into some momentum for the fellas. But I think that's it for us. If you've been listening, thank you so much. I think we're about to have a Belmont buzzer beater. I don't know if Katie's got eyes on that. It's in the corner of my screen right now. Oh, they threw it away. So now when we recorded this was live. We'll see what happens after that. But for KT Sharp, follow her on Twitter. If you haven't, you're doing yourself a disservice at the letters KT Sharp. Myself talking Jake, and most importantly, and as always, let's go Huskies.
Let's go Huskies.